Okay guys, welcome back. I said I was going to get to it, and here we go. I'm back. I finally made time that I can get everything wrote down that I wanted to get right down, and everything, so I don't forget anything. These are one of those topics I kind of want to stay on point with as best I can, because you guys know I can ramble a lot. It's just it's sort of a one and a two-part thing. It's more on booking your flights. This is my process. This is what I do and how I do it. You may do it a little bit differently if you've went over before. If you went to Southeast Asia or the Philippines yourself, so your process may be different. This is how I've done it. This is how I've kind of figured out over the years the best way that for me that I can book the hotel. And you guys know me, I do everything as much as I can within a budget and budget friendly. So I'm not, obviously, if I take off and I just do whatever, you can spend a lot of money really fast and really quick. And for me, the whole idea is to do this without breaking the bank. And I am pretty cheap, but that being said, and these two topics are going to be the flight and booking your hotel or Airbnb, whatever it may be. As for myself, personally, I've kind of weeded everything out down to basically a science for me. I've weeded everything down. I found what I feel is the best places, the best sites to go to, and the best times, and typically the best dates to some extent. Now, that being said, I do want to, there's a few caveats with mine. It's know the dates that I'm fixing to use, and this is me actually looking for what I'm going to, how I'm going to book, how I'm going to try to go, and not exactly, but it's pretty close to the dates and the, everything, how I'm going to do it, but it's not exactly. But anyhow, this is just going to give you an idea. I'm hoping this video doesn't run very long, but it's still going to be informative, I believe. To help me, somebody that has never went over there, or for somebody that's just, hey, what would this cost me? So this is it. This is 2025 prices. This is me looking, and I'll explain the process as we go on, how I come up with this, how I figured out my process and everything. And I hope you guys like what the content is. If you do, keep watching the videos, keep liking the thumbs up, throw the thumbs in, and try to catch me on my lives if you can, and everything. And we'll be right back, and we'll get started with it. Thanks. Have you ever just been ready for this to be over with? I think I'd much rather be this guy somewhere overseas riding in one of these, just chilling. Okay, guys, we're back. Let's jump right into it. Let's do this. Okay, the flight. I typically start with a flight because that's usually the most expensive thing is going to be your flight going over, depending on how long you're going to stay. And let's see. First and foremost, let me kind of kick this out there for you guys. If you're going to stay more than, let's see, excuse me, I would recommend if you're staying more than 3 to 4 months, maybe consider not booking a round trip flight. I don't know how that would work out. Yes, let me say this. You can stay 6 months, book a flight, and round trip 6 months. I think you can do it anytime. I just don't know how it works. I've done it, but I'm one of those people that want to test the theory a lot. So it may be an idea where you just book one flight there and you book when you want to come back because maybe you just don't know. And I hope that's the point where I can get to. But usually, I keep everything, try to keep as uniform as I can, and everything. So if you're booking if you're staying more than 3 or 4 months, consider just doing a one-way ticket and booking your flight a month or so before you're going to leave, or 2 months, something like that, 3 months, whatever. I don't know. But if you're just going over, obviously it doesn't pertain to you. And I've kind of figured it out. When I started doing this the very first time, I wanted to play with it, and I played with it. It was a year before. Once I'd started, looking at the dating sites and doing all this and that, and found out kind of about the Philippines. Once I'd done that, it was a year before I actually finally flew over. It was right at a year. And so I had plenty of time looking and searching and this and that. But through that process in the beginning, I wanted to find out as much information. And yes, that was in 2016. A lot of things have changed since then. But I wanted to find out as much as I can, learn the process, and try to figure out, see if I could pinpoint the best times to book, what's the best time of the year to fly, the cheapest time of the year to fly. And that whittled down from basically what's the best season to what's the best month. And there is better months than others to fly, in my personal opinion, when you're talking about on a budget. And when you're deciding to go to the Philippines or anywhere in Southeast Asia, or for anywhere for that matter, find out what their seasons are like. Because just because it's one way where just because the seasons are a certain way where you live, do not expect it to be the same way where you're flying to. That's another thing to kind of think about, and that just kind of popped in my head right there. I didn't have that down, but that's something you ought to consider. If it doesn't matter to you, you're just going for the experience and you just want to get there, so be it. Go. Just book your flight and get on out of here. Do it. But for the best experience possible, think about that, research the seasons, and no, I don't know every, thing about that, but I do know a few things about the Philippines, and there are wet seasons, rainy seasons, and there's extremely dry and extremely hot seasons. And it's not the way ours is. It's really not. You got to understand, this is a country that is extremely close to the equator. So, and I'm in the middle of the United States, in the south, so it's not the way our climate is. The climates are very, very different. There's drastic differences. And they are different depending on the region of the country. Even though it's close to the equator, it's depending on the area of the country you're going to, in the area of the Philippines you're going. If it's mountainous, if it's in my opinion, Cebu is completely different than Manila. There's a lot of differences, and there's definitely for me. There's tons of differences that I've seen between just Cebu City and over in Dumaguete. To me, there's a lot of differences. There's a lot of kind of mountainous areas, a lot of trees, that makes a huge difference in your experience, in my opinion. So think about that when you're determining when you're wanting to go, what time you're going. Because if you're someone that's going for a shorter period of time, if you're only, your job's only allowing you off for a few weeks, a couple weeks, first of all, if that's all you can do, take what you can get your 2 weeks in, soak up as much as you can. But I would strongly suggest try to at least give yourself 3 to 4 weeks. That's what I call my minimum. That's 3 to 4 weeks. Try to get you as close to a month as you can. If you can soak up a couple months, and I know that's not everybody's available to do that, or not everybody may want to do that. It's just my opinion. Try to get at least a month in, 3 to 4 weeks, and if you can push it longer, push it longer. You're definitely going to get a better idea of what's happening around. A couple of weeks, you're just getting a taste of the apple. For me, I like eating the whole bag. I like to try everything, or I like to try the whole fruit basket, just to get an idea of what everything is like. So, but anyhow, understand climate is different. Think about what time of the year you're going, when your plane takes off and wherever you're taking off from in your country, when you land in the Philippines, what is that going to be like at that time? Is it January? Is it July? Is it December? Whether you want to believe this or not, December in the Philippines is not December in the United States, in Chicago. It's not going to look the same. It will not feel the same. Trust me on this. And when I say December in the Philippines, and if you're in the Philippines, or if you're acquainted with the Philippines, you understand December in the Philippines actually starts somewhere around September. For me, December is Christmas time. Christmas in the Philippines starts about September, depending on what your family is, or who your family is, or whatever, or, who you're around. Christmas is a big thing in the Philippines, and they go to the max with it. But anyhow, know what season it's going to be when you land there, what things are going to be like, because that can drastically affect your travel plans. And everything. And I'm not going to go too deep into this, and everything as far as searching and everything. But I will tell you this, kind of tagging on to that topic, the seasons. Dress accordingly. Just know this, and everything comes typically for me with personal experience. That's what I gather my information from. I knew better. I should have knew better, but it did not dawn on me at the last minute. I flew my flight, landed at my layover, and it was a few hours layover. It wasn't very long, 2 or 3 hours on my first flight. And the whole flight, I wore stretchy pants, and everything. So everything was really comfortable. And so when I land, I wanted to look the nicest I could look, and this and that, and I wanted to be presentable. And I'm going to say it this way, where I landed at and took my layover in, at that time I flew Los Angeles to, I think it's called Guangzhou, China. I think it's just a little piece outside of Hong Kong. And that's where I had my layover, and I decided to change and clean up, and that way when I got off the plane, it's the first time I'm meeting, my LDR girlfriend, or whatever you want to call that. I mean, we have been talking for a long time. So, but anyhow, I wanted to look as nice as I could, so put blue jeans on, a pair of pants, and a nice shirt, nice button-up shirt with a t-shirt, and put me some cologne on. I wanted to smell good, brush my teeth, cleaned everything up, cleaned myself up, put some nice clothes on. And I done that inside the airport in China. And it's all right, because it was actually a little chilly and everything. So put all that on and everything, and then because it's only I wanted to be comfortable for my flight over as much as I could, because it's such a long flight, and I think it was like almost 12 hours to China. And then we had a few hours break, changed my clothes, done everything, got on the other flight, took off. It's only 2 to 3 hours from China on down. I think 2 to 3.5 hours, something like. It wasn't very long. And take off, fly, and everything's good. And there's air conditioners and heat and all that on the airplanes and all that. But about, I don't know, 30 minutes in the flight, they come to me and they said, "Hey, well, you've got a pretty empty flight. Would you like to come to first class?" And short flight, it's not a very big plane, but it's first class. It's still pretty decent. It's really wide seat, really comfortable, really nice. Actually, a little better food too. Even though it's short flight, they fed us. They give us a little snack and drinks and stuff. You can have alcohol or whatever. I don't drink, but anyhow. So sure. So I go up there and everything, and got curtains and all this, and I noticed, man, that about an hour into the flight, maybe a little more, hour and a half, it's starting to get warm. So I'm opening them buttons up, and it had one here and one right there, and one like right here is like 3 or 4 different vents that I could get in touch with, get a hold of real fast. And I think it was only me and one other person in that section in first class, and everything. And I had everything as wide open as I could get, and I was starting to sweat like nobody's business on that plane. And I'm thinking, man, I'm getting nervous or something. I don't know. But the closer we got to the Philippines, and we haven't even started descending, we're up in the air. And, it's like things got brighter. And then, buddy, when they started to descend into Manila, son, the closer it seemed like we got to landing at the airport, it's like you could tell they dropped down a little bit, then they dropped down a little farther. And the closer we would get to landing, that last 45 minutes, I was sweating profusely. I mean, I was sweating, and I'm a big guy. I am, back then I was a lot bigger than I am now. I was well over 400 pounds back then, and I'm 6'5". I'm a big, sweaty man, just regular. This was beyond any heat that I think I'd ever felt. I've been to Arizona. I've been to the deserts in California. I know what dry, humid, all that kind of stuff. I know what really hot is here in the West and in the U.S. I never felt this kind of heat to me. It was rough. And when we landed, we landed and opened the door, and we're the first ones to get off the plane. And when they opened that door, and we were not far from where the door was, because, it was a little smaller plane. When they opened that door, it was like, dude, it's like opening a can of something, and it like that right there. It's like pressure released. That heat come rushing in worse than what it was already feeling. And it just is like a hairdryer blowing you with scalding hot, air in your face. and it was rough. And so I said all that real long stuff to kind of say this. If you've never been, it's probably going to be a shock. Just that in itself, it's going to be a little bit of a shock. The heat for me, and my flight, I flew in the end of May, and everything, and that's not even the hottest time of the year there. Not really. It gets a lot hotter, and so we fly in. It's scalding hot. I'm sweating profusely. I got blue jeans on. I got kind of a longer sleeve, not a long sleeve, but sleeved shirt. So I learned real fast. When I fly in to the Philippines, I'm in shorts. I'm not. If I want to wear jogging pants and a pair of shorts up and under that, so when I get to where I'm going, I can take it my layover. I can take my jogging pants or my lightweight pants off. But make sure you're comfortable for the flight, and make sure you're going to be comfortable when you land and you get ready to go. You're going to want shorts on when you get to where you go, and I prefer a t-shirt, which I'm a t-shirt kind of guy now. I wear a lot of Carhartt shirts or just any kind of t-shirt. Do not be scared of a tank top. I don't mind. I'm a bigger guy. My arms ain't muscled up. I'm a little flabby. I'm out of shape. I'm still a little, I'm still overweight. Not a little, but I'm overweight. I'm saying that. So I don't care really. I'm going to be presentable, but I don't mind that I'm wearing shorts and t-shirts. Don't worry about yourself either. Trust me, the women are not going to care. It's not going to cross their mind that much. I wish I'd have wore shorts and a t-shirt then when I got off, because, buddy, I paid for it. Okay, so back in. Know the season you're going in. Pack accordingly to where you're going. I have no idea why I even took a pair of pants. Yes, it's good. Have one pair of pants just in case you go somewhere, a little more than casual or something. But I think you could truly get by with nice shorts. A lot for me, pull-up shorts is fine. Gym shorts and stuff like that for me all the time. Tank top or t-shirts, that gets me by. And you don't need everything in your mama going with you. Truly, for me, and I believe there's several other YouTubers that have done stuff like this. The list of what to take in this and that. You can get by if you pick 4 or 5 good sets of clothes and keep the majority of them. I'd say 2 really nice shirts, everything else, pullover, t-shirt, something along those lines, and 2 nice dress shorts, or, pull-up shorts or shorts, and then the rest of them gym shorts. You will survive just fine with 4, 5, 6 pair of, exchanges of clothes. You're good to go for however long you want to stay. I would suggest having at least 2 pair of shoes, in just my opinion, and get you some flip-flops. Get you some flip-flops, some kind of something or another, because tennis shoes is going to get old after a while. But I suggest at least 2 pair and a pair of flip-flops is what I suggest on that. But off to it. When you go to look at your flights, number 1, in my opinion, if you go to booking your flight anywhere between 2 and 3 months out, 2.5 to 3 months, anything before that, I think the pricing on flights into the Philippines or whatever, it's just, there's a drastic difference. I mean, I have seen it as much as $200 or $300 difference. Now, is that the rule of thumb on every situation? Absolutely not. But I've seen some last minute ones within 2 weeks be pretty cheap, and there's been a time that I've seen that. The time of year, December, Christmas time. When the closer you get to Christmas, okay, let me back this up. November and December, flying into the Philippines, it's going to start going up. The price of stuff is going to go up. And the prices that we're going to look at here when we go in and I'll insert so you can see exactly what I was looking at and what I'm looking at with all this, with flights. And I'll try to show us a couple different ones to give you a rough idea. No, I didn't do every airport in the Philippines. I didn't do every airport in the United States. This is my trip there. So you're getting from my perspective. So try to look, if you've got the opportunity, 2 to 3 months out. So if you know you're leaving in, June, start your look. You can start looking as early as you want to, so whatever, but book your flight within 2 to 3 months of, make sure it's at least 2.5 to 3 months out before you're flying out. Anything closer to that, you're leaving money on the table. You're at least going to lose $100, $200, I'm guessing. Maybe $300 or $400 more. And me, I told you I'm a big guy. I'm 6'4", 6'5". And right now I'm 375, whatever. I'm a big guy. I'm bigger than most people. So me booking this, most any of you guys are going to be able to get into these seats for the majority of it. But if you have a question about it, the flights and everything, you can look at the airlines, look at the airliner you're going on, get an idea of the seats. A lot of times on their website, they will measure off the seat, tell you how wide it is, how much leg room you have, so if you're a taller person, and everything. So think about that. And when you're booking these flights, there's opportunities where you can go on and you may have to pay a little bit of extra. I'll show you. But you have an option to choose whatever seat you want that's available. And there's certain rows in the airplane depending on the kind of airplane you're going to be on, and you can look through that to kind of see that. And everything on the diagram of how the seating pattern is and how the seating setup is and what has more room and what doesn't have more room and all that. So you kind of know if you're a bigger person where you can be. Well, now if you're a small person, if you're lightweight and short, you shouldn't have any issues if you've never, and this is for the person that's probably never, maybe you've never flown, or maybe you don't know. Maybe that's the scary part about it. If anybody should be worried, it should have been me. The first time I ever flew, I was well over 400 pounds. I'm 6'5". I'm the biggest guy on this plane that I flew with. And all that. And the flight I took, I was flying, I think it was China Eastern, or China Air or something like that I was on. China Eastern, I think. And they were all Asian. I would say, which it was only about half of the plane full. It was only about a half plane full. And it was a monster. It was I think it was double-decker, 2-layer plane. No, I know it was because there was stairs going up. But anyhow, 2 floors on this plane. And we were, half full if we were half full. And I'm the biggest guy there was. And they were all little bitty Asian folks and everything. And I had plenty of room. I mean, I'm a big, wide guy. I'm pretty massive. The seat was fine, fairly wide. It was fine for me. It was no problem. And I had, and I think the seat we were on, I think there was 4 wide maybe, or 3 wide. No, I think it was 4 wide because I had one right beside me, and then I skipped a seat, and it was another one that was beside me, another lady. It was 2 ladies. And I was stuck in the middle, and everything, and like I say about on that flight going from LA to China, I asked the lady. I said, "Is it okay if I move back there and kind of give these ladies some room?" She said, "Oh yeah, nobody's here. Go sit somewhere else." And they were like whole rows that had nobody in them. And I went back, and it was kind of odd the way this one was set up. This plane. There was 2 rows in the very back, and the one row that was against the wall was a little bit farther away from the next row in front of it. So I sat down, and these planes, this plane, those seats, I could raise the thing up in the middle, and those seats are completely flat across. And I took 2 of those pillows out the thing, put it up, and I laid in the seat across it. And it was actually pretty comfortable. It wasn't a brand new plane. It wasn't extremely old either, but it was a good deal. I was just saying that to kind of say, hey, you know, also the time of flight you take out somewhere, depending on where it's going, can also determine how many people is going to be on that flight. Within a good degree, you can kind of judge. And a lot of times, the later the flight is, I found if it's, you know, really late at night, if it's like after 9 p.m., a lot of times those flights can be a little less crowded than the earlier flights, because people want to get out early and get to where they're going. It's just, I kind of figured that out. So when I book my flights, I try to book them leaving LA a little later in the evening, if at all possible, if I can. Doesn't always work like that, because you're kind of fighting a bunch of battles at once. One, you're trying to fight where you're going to, the amount of flights that are available, and your price. You're trying to stay within a budget. So sometimes the budget just doesn't allow you to leave late at night, because the ones that's leaving a little bit later may be a little more expensive than you're wanting to spend. So we're trying to stay on the budget, which is the number one thing we're trying to get, is the cheapest flight there within reason. And I don't exactly go with the exact cheapest flight, because there's certain flights I don't want to be on. I'm not a fan of Singapore Air, so I'd never fly that. But I'm kind of open to a lot of other ones and everything. So when you're leaving can affect it. When you leave your terminal can also determine how many may be possibly on your flight. And let's take, for instance, me. When I fly, I live outside of Atlanta. So there's 2 possible airports that I can fly out of, because my main flight, the way I go, I do not fly Atlanta to Cebu or Manila. It's just too long of a flight from here, because they want to run from Atlanta and they want to go across the Atlantic. I would much rather go from Atlanta or Chattanooga to LAX or somewhere on the West Coast and then fly out from there. And those are completely reasonable options. The next thing for me is I want to be on the plane as little length of time as I can, the shortest amount of time. So typically what I do is I fly out of Atlanta or Chattanooga one day. And it's usually Atlanta, because Atlanta, if there's a layover, I'm always going west for the most part. And it's going to either be Denver, typically is where the layover's at, or Dallas. And I don't mind that. Or sometimes I get lucky and get a direct flight straight to LA, and those are perfect, because that's only 4.5, 5 hours. Whereas the others can turn into an 8, 10 hour flight with a layover in Denver, or Dallas. If you come out of Chattanooga, I found they want to take you back to Charlotte, which means I'm going back east, and then I fly from Charlotte to LAX. And that's just a little bit longer flight. You're adding, it's turning into another 10, 12, 13 hour flight just to go across the country. If I have to do that, and it's extremely cheap, if it's cheaper, if it's $100 more or $100 less than the Atlanta flight, I may actually do Chattanooga. Give me a different view, or whatever. But if it's not, I'll probably go with Atlanta. And yes, I know you're probably going to give me, some slack or flack, however you want to say that. It's usually Spirit Air. And I'm sorry, I don't have a whole lot. They charge you for every single thing, a water. They charge you for a water, some peanuts, and it ain't cheap. But here, truth is I take candy and snacks on the plane or whatever, my beef jerky with me anyhow, and I keep me a water in my bag, so it doesn't matter to me. So Spirit Air is usually what it is. You can do American Airlines, but they several different ones. And I go to LAX. Well, when I get to LA, I get me a hotel so I can rest up. Because I don't want, I told you I don't want to stay on the plane very long. So I get me some rest. Even if it's just 7 or 8 hours, I get some rest before I go get back on the plane at LAX and go to Manila or Cebu. But my flight from Atlanta, and this is going to be typical, it's going to be within $100 or so of this price. My price from Atlanta to LAX, and you can get direct flights or some, it may be a variety of a direct flight out, and you may have a layover coming back from LA when you return. But my round trip ticket is somewhere around $248. So $250. This is what I looked at. This right here is Atlanta, and you'll see this. I'm leaving. This is what I searched out. I'm leaving. I believe it's 4:27 p.m. on the 3rd, and it arrives 6:02 nonstop on the 3rd. So I'm getting there at 6 p.m. at night, LA time. So you can see how long that flight is right there. I'm getting there at 6 p.m. at night. Say I'm out of the airport by 7:30 if it's something we run behind. So 7:30. Well, I'm at the hotel. Had time to stop, get some food, and a lot of time your hotel, you ain't gonna have to pay for a thing. They'll have a shuttle to take you to it, and there's tons of hotels and everything around. And I'm on a budget. I'm gonna try to find. This is LA, and I'm sorry, it's like Atlanta. I'm not staying in the cheapest of the cheapest. I'm not staying in a bad area. Not going to do that. So I'm not getting the cheapest of the cheapest, but I can still stay for $100 bill. So, and that's going to give me peace of mind. And there's plenty of hotels not too far from LAX, and you get there pretty fast. So, like I say, by 8:30, you've got you something to eat. You've got a free ride, so you're not picking up a cab fare going to where you're going. You're picking up the hotel shuttle and everything. So you've got $100 on that. So your $100 on your hotel. That's my budget on that when I'm flying out to LA. When I get to LA. So I'm $250 on the round trip flight out there. Okay. Now here's what you need to do. Think about this when you're splitting your flights up. Okay. You're going to have to look at the time you land, because if you're somebody that tries to put everything together and do it fast, I try to keep mine arrive the day before to leave the next day. So as long as I can get a 10-hour break in the middle of it, I can sleep 6 or 7 hours, which is what I usually sleep anyhow. Get up, and if it's after that 10th hour, I got enough time to get back to the hotel, back to the airport, and get on my plane and take off. So let's say I landed on the 3rd at 6 p.m. And the 4th, they had something leaving out on the 4th at 3 a.m. Well, that's more than enough time for me to get my rest and go get on the plane. It's just a few hours. Or let's back that up. Let's say it's 9 in the morning I'm arriving in LA. So it's 9 a.m. and they got a flight that leaves at 5 on the 3rd. Got plenty of time to still get to a hotel and sleep. And because I don't want to sleep in an airport for 6, 7, 8, 10 hours, whatever it may be. I've got enough time to get back by 5 p.m. and get on that flight if that's the one I'm doing. So, kind of get the gist of what I'm talking about. So, here's why I'm kind of telling you that you're keeping your airline flights matched with where you're going, what your downtime is going to be at your next drop, your next location, at the airport or the hotel or whatever it may be. So, and you'll see why I'm getting to this here in a minute. So, this flight particularly lands in LAX on the 3rd. Okay? And we're going to take this for example. I think I lined this up right. Hopefully I did not make a mistake. But if I did make a mistake on the times, you guys will catch it. But it'll give you a rough idea on the difference in pricing. It's really where I was going with this. We're going to look at LAX to Manila, which is leaving the 4th at 12, I believe it was 12:10 p.m. So that's just after lunchtime. And I believe the final arrival is 11:59. I'm pretty certain that's AM. I think that's AM. We'll see. 11:59 on the 5th. There is a stopover on this one. Now, I didn't look and see what that stopover, but you're going to have a layover on this, there and back. And this airline is Asiana. So, yeah, you're going to have a stopover, which is going to be Seoul, South Korea. You're going to have a stopover there. But your arrival is the 5th in Manila. So, if this is the flight you're taking and everything, you need to look when you book your hotel. Your arrival time is going to be the day you get into Manila. So when you're looking at that, and you're looking at booking that, when you get into Manila area or whatever you're booking right there, you need to look at that on that day. Well, let's say it's late at night, you're coming in. Well, you need to either just play it on a whim, and when you get off, you go find you a hotel at that point. Or if you book it something ahead of time, in which I suggest you doing that, kind of have, once you get there, you have your ducks lined up. That way you're not running around like a chicken with his head cut off trying to find somewhere to stay at midnight. So if it's on the 5th there of September, when you start looking at your hotels or something, you're going to be looking for the 5th after the time you're arriving. And definitely, if you're coming in late at night, you need to let them know, hey, I've got this booked for the 5th, but I'm not going to be in till midnight. I just want to make sure I got it. And they'll understand. They'll have everything. That way, everybody knows up front. That way, you don't lose your hotel. If you book it, don't show up. Because there are some, let me remind you, there are some, if you don't show up on that day by a certain time, they'll hold your money for that day and then just cancel the rest of your thing. You won't know nothing about it. You'll think everything good. They'll think you just ain't coming. It happens. You're a Westerner coming to their country. Plans change all the time. Okay, but I typically fly into, if I'm going to Cebu on this trip. So what I'm looking at is, here, keep this right here in mind. These are the two trips that you can look at. This is the ones I looked at. Manila, flight LA to Manila, or flight LA to Cebu. Okay? Now check this out. Manila, the price on that, these are the same days. Same day. This flight left 12:10 on the 4th. This flight left at 12:45. The first one was Asiana Air. This one is United Airlines. And I will say this, United can have some funny rules about baggage and stuff like that. That's the next thing. Look at your baggage. Look at all the different kind of rules. Look at this and that. Look and see if they charge something extra for something inside the flight. They'll be in the flight details. It'll tell you. If there's anything that you need to know, it'll tell you within the flight. 12:45 p.m. on the 4th. It leaves and it arrives at 10:05 p.m. on the 5th. and there's a layover. There's a 3-hour going in and a 4.5 hour when you're on your return flight. Now here's this. This is something else you got to keep in mind for. A lot of times the websites, depending on the one you're looking at, will show you if there's an airport change. And what that is this. Like this flight here. This is LAX to NRT. It's Japan. But when you leave the NRT, you got to take a shuttle to the, I believe it's HND, which is another airport. Now, I don't know all the names of these. I've not been to this, so this is new for me. But know your layover times in and out. You got 3 hours one way, 4.5 hours the next when you're coming back. Know if there's if you're going to have a shuttle. And keep in mind, the airport may not supply this. You may have to do it on your own because you're going to different. But chances are it's going to be, everything's already going to be set up. They're going to tell you, or you're going to have to go look and see where you need to go to the next to get onto that shuttle to go to that airport, this and that. These are things you need to look for when you're doing it, especially those airport changes. If you don't know, you better pay attention really good to this because you get yourself in trouble. It costs you time, costs you money. If you miss a flight, something like that. Next thing, if you have tight layovers, if you have anything under 2 hours, be very, very careful. Because 2 hours in airport time is not a long time. I look for 3 or more hours in a layover. One, because it takes time to go from one departure to another, from one point of the airport to another. It takes plenty of time, and it takes time to go through customs. It takes time to go through check-ins and all this. And anytime you land in a country, you're going to go through that customs, or that check. They're going to check your visas. They're going to do all that. That's the next thing. Make sure if you're flying into a country and you got a layover, like China. When I flew into China, back then, I had to have a visa to come into that country. Some countries you don't have to. They give you so many hours as a flight in. They'll even let you leave the airport and go out in and do a visitation. And, there's some that you've got 48 hours. You can go out, come back. You got to go. And there's some that just absolutely do not care. You can come in, go in just about anything, sort of like the Philippines. Philippines, you come in as long as you got all the box checked and everything. You come right in, they give you 29 days, if I'm not mistaken. It's roughly 30 days. I think it's actually 29 days. Come in for free, and you're good to go. But know your times when you're coming in on your layovers, what airport you're flying into, what airport you're actually flying out at. So if you're coming in at NRT, and you got an airport swap, you got to find that shuttle, or you got to get you a taxi and get to that airport. And we've only got 3 hours to get off the plane, get all of our luggage, and get there. If everything is handled and that's when you book your flight, you need to find that out through who you're booking your flight with. Hey, will the airline handle my transfer? Are they going to handle me the shuttle over to the new airport? How is this going to work? Because a lot of times the airline will handle everything. They'll just have it. They'll move your luggage. They'll move all your baggage. All this. Talking about baggage, keep an eye. I don't know if I already said this, but keep an eye on when you're booking your flights of what the baggage rules and guidelines are for each and every, because there's not uniform. It's different with each airline. They have their own set of rules, cost. You may be able to take a carry-on. You may be able to take 1 or 2. You may be able to take a carry-on and a personal item. Or you may be able to take, and that's it. And any bags that you got to check which means they put it under the plane. You may have to pay for them. Or they may allow 1 bag for free or 2 bags for free. Every airport's different. Usually, international flights are going to be different than domestic flights whatsoever. Okay. So now we've landed in Cebu. Okay. And we've landed in Cebu at 10:05 p.m. right here, right? On the 5th. That's the 5th of September. So when should I have booked my hotel? Well, I suggest when you go into booking your hotel, I would suggest if you're coming in that late at night with it, the Philippines and everything, I would suggest that you book it for the next day. Part 2 coming soon, guys.